Yeah, thank you very much for the kind introduction. I would like to start also with the introduction of the Henkel company where I'm coming from. So it's a roughly 19 billion global company. We probably look back on more than 140 years of brand success, so quite a sustainable company. And we have 51,000 employees worldwide. We are active in more than 120 nations, have, as you can read, over 170 manufacturing sites all over the world and 17 major R&D sites. The business is quite diverse. So we have 3 business divisions. The first one is adhesives. It's a mainly B2B business and contributing roughly 50% of our net sales. The second one where I'm coming from is beauty care, contributing another 20%, and laundry and home care, the last one, contributing 30%. Some words on beauty care. So we are active in hair, in all the different hair categories, in all the 2 channels for hairdressers or stylists, as well as in the retail channel. We have then also in some specific countries strong positions in skin and oral care, and are globally active also in body care. So the title of this presentation is to merge sustainable development with consumer insights. It was very interesting to hear already this morning that in quite a couple of company presentations, sustainable development was mentioned. So it is top of mind of a lot of companies. I would like now to start with the fast-moving consumer goods, and the second talk after that will be then more on the chemical side. Consumer-centric innovations, so that is the first part. I will then come to Henkel's sustainability strategy, how we implement this, and then finally we'll show you a short perspective into the future. Of course, innovations are at the core of our growth, and there R&D plays a pivotal role. We are organized in beauty care in a way that we have a central competence center here in Germany, and we have then some strong satellites all over the regions. In the Central Competence Center, we develop global product platforms, which we try to leverage all over the world as far as possible. And we also do the advanced research, so filling the pipeline from the front end. The role of the satellites is, first of all, to leverage the global product platforms as far as possible, but also to secure compliance with the local regulations. And they can be quite different. For example, for a hair colorant, it's a cosmetic product here in Europe, but it's a quasi-drug in Japan. And other examples are, for example, antiperspirants, which are, again, a cosmetic product in Europe, but falls under the FDA regulation for OTC products in the US. And the last thing, they also do some local development, and that has to do with the differences in ethnicities. Think, for example, on Asian hair, which is thick, straight, and black, compared to the more wavy brown or blonde hair in Europeans, or the kinky hair of Africans. And the same holds for the skin. But also we face different consumer preferences all over the world when it comes to perfumes or habits how to use certain products. Consumer centricity is, of course, a question of mindset of the R&D people, but even more important of the marketing people. But they do also a lot of research, consumer insight research, market research, and so on, and we profit from that. And further on in R&D, we have the opportunity via our testing all over the world that we are in intimate contact with consumers. First of all, we ask them on the performance of our products in the test salon. We ask also the stylists. But of course, then they can also say what needs are still not fulfilled and where we should innovate much more. And we do a lot of those tests, as you can read, more than 20,000 hair model tests per year in the different regions. We do on body care and skincare products another 12,500 volunteer tests. So we get a lot of feedback from the marketplace. But that is not all. We have to match those more subjective performance checks by consumers or by hairdressers with objective measurements, especially when it comes to claims, hard claims, number claims, and so on. And for that reason, we have biophysical test labs. You see here one with a robot who is doing a lot of hair measurements. In fact, over 3,000 hair measurements we do, with more than 40,000 hair fibers and strands per year. In addition, we do clinical testing on humans, and we do also in vitro research on new chemicals when their toxicological profile is not yet established. And we do this on skin models, as you see them there, but also on hair follicle models for hair growth as well as for biological pigmentation. When you ask our colleagues from marketing, they are not only interested in the consumer insights, but of course they are also interested in the trends. So what will be the desire of consumers in 2 years' time, in 5 years' time? And they collect those trends and aggregate them to certain mega trends. And here I show you those mega trends. Beauty à la carte, in the briefing for R&D, that translates into personalized cosmetics. Or super upgrade, that is the highest performance expectation of consumers. Health gamers has 2 aspects. Some consumers expect products which show nearly pharmaceutical efficacy, so-called cosmeceuticals. Others are looking for cosmetic products without chemicals. So the free from, what you also might have read as claims on certain products. Ethical is about sustainable sourcing or authentic products. And then we have the culture club, soft rebel, which are more attitudes of the so-called millennials. So you might ask yourself, what is then the link, the connection to sustainability? If you see those trends, maybe with the health gamers or ethical, you have an idea, but it's not very strong. In fact, and that has been mentioned already by a couple of other presenters, we see the following mega challenges for sustainability. That is, first of all, climate change. You can read about it every week. But also waste and recycling is becoming more and more prominent over the last years. In certain areas, maybe not in Germany, but in other areas, water scarcity is a topic. Deforestation, especially when it comes to rainforests. Human rights, so the worker safety, but also fair salaries, or in general quality of life. So how can we link this with our trends, with our consumer insights? And that was also the question which we asked ourselves in the year 2010 when we revised our sustainability strategy. We invited some experts from outside, and we were led by the question of the World Business Council of Sustainable Development, how to make sure that 9 billion people can live well in 2050 within the resource limits of our planet. And that brings me directly to our sustainability strategy. In the year 2010, 7 billion people were living on planet Earth, and they were consuming round about 1.5 times the resources of the planet Earth. That is definitely not a sustainable development. And the projection for the year 2050 was, and still is, that there will be 9 billion people living on Earth and consuming 5 times the resources available. That is not only not sustainable, but probably not even feasible. So the question is, what can we do? First of all, we said, okay, 2050 is far away, so we need a more tangible objective, a more tangible goal, and therefore we said, okay, let's talk about the year 2030. And what it is about is this question, what do we need to do in order to live well, but within the resource limits of our planet? And if you think about that, it's about efficiency. And that brought us to the famous factor 3, all our employees know very well. So we want to increase our efficiency by a factor of 3. And what do we mean by efficiency? It's value divided by footprint. So that is our objective for the year 2030. Starting point is 2010. And what are the ways how you can do this? So intellectually, you can triple the value and keep the footprint constant, or vice versa, keep the value constant and reduce the footprint by a factor of 3, or something in between. And this in between, working on both, is in fact what we are really doing. But what do we mean with value and with footprint? And there we have defined 6 focal areas of sustainability. 3 value areas and 3 footprint areas. The value areas are social progress, performance of our products, but also the financial performance of the company, and safety and health. Safety of workers, of the workforce, and health of our customers and consumers. And then we have the footprint areas, energy and climate, because they are closely linked, water and wastewater, and materials and waste. So how have we implemented this strategy? So I have already mentioned we have around about 170 manufacturing sites, and of course also a lot of admin sites. And the first focus was definitely our own premises. So what can we do inside our company? And there with the factor 3, then we said again, 2030 far away, so we need it even in shorter periods of time. So we have defined cycles of 5 years and then set efficiency goals. And for the year 2020, for example, the total efficiency should increase by 75%. So that is the objective where we are working against in the moment. And I come to this back later on. Where are we? So here you see where we are. starting point here is 2006, that we have set as an index of 100. And you can see that with the 3 footprint areas, as well as with the number of accidents, that is all going down, so going into the right direction. And later on I will show you then the figures, the exact figures. If you think about those and analyze those figures more in detail, then you will see that's fine, but the impact on the Earth is rather tiny. So there's not so much effect, and you will not save the planet by this. So we have to widen our scope to look into the full or entire value chain. And that means we have to start with our feedstock suppliers, chemical suppliers, or the chemical industry. Then it comes to our own production, own logistics, but then to our retailers, consumers, and in the end, the residuals of our products, which is then in the end waste. So that goes then into the waste bin. It's mainly our package material. And I would like to give you one example, and that is the carbon footprint. And there you see the contribution of at the different stages of the value chain. And the raw materials, including packages, is around about 6% contributing. Our own production, processing, 4%. And the majority is with the consumer, 90%. And the reason is that our products in our product portfolio are mainly used in connection with hot water. In the bath tube, under the shower, when brushing your teeth, and so on and so on. And of course, heating this water and using this water has a huge impact on the full value chain and the footprint. So you can do this with all the different 6 focal areas, and then you end up with a matrix of 36 fields. So you have the 6 focal areas on the vertical axis, and you have then the value chain, starting with the raw materials, then coming to the production logistics, retailing, service or use and disposal on the horizontal axis. And you can do this for each single product. Of course, not all those 36 fields are equally important. So you have certain hotspots on sustainability. That could be that they are especially negative, so the footprint is very high. But it could also be that this is a hotspot where we can contribute a lot with innovations to improve the footprint. And that is how we do this. And I would like to show you now an example, a very simple one, a shower gel. And here you see again the time course, 2005 to 2015. And we calculated the biodegradability, we calculated the percentage of renewables from the formula, and also the carbon footprint. Readily biodegradable they have always been, so no change. Renewables round about 2/3, also no change. Our focal area was the carbon footprint. And there you can see what you can do with innovations. If you have really an objective to bring this down, then you can change formulations, you can change raw materials and so on, and bring this significantly down. And that is our commitment in R&D, not only for Beauty Care, but for whole Henkel, that with all new innovations we want to contribute to sustainability, at least in one focal area. And here you see how this looks like in a typical development lab. So in our laboratory information system, they do the calculation. And you see here for a lot of different formulations, shower gels or shampoos, which are quite similar, you see that the carbon footprint is has a tendency going down over the years. But you see also the huge variation between the different formulations. And that has, of course, to do with the different performance levels. But overall, trend is going down. And for sure, if we launch products, we try, whenever possible, to go to this side, so that overall you have seen this steep decline in carbon footprint by especially choosing those formulations with a low carbon footprint. What is the secret of success? The secret of success is that we have implemented those sustainability, evaluations, assessments in our new product development process. That means already at the first stage, when it comes to the briefing at the Go 1, we discuss with our marketing about sustainability. They cannot calculate it, but at least we can discuss with them what could be the focal areas. Where can we improve, and what does fit also with the consumer knowledge and consumer insight. So what is really possible. And then during the development, we do the first evaluation for the formulas which are under development, and we choose them accordingly. And then in the validation phase, we do then the final calculation and then check what's going on after launch. And now I would like to give you a flavor how this really looks like in practice with some examples. And the first example is a portfolio shift to leave on, which we realized with the relaunch of our hair care brand Gliss in the year 2015. So you will remember there was a trend among consumers for highest performance. And if you go for hair care products, especially hair treatments, then a leave-on treatment has a higher performance than a treatment which you rinse off, which is plausible. I think it makes sense. So we discussed this with our marketing colleagues and said, okay, let's go more for leave-on treatments and substitute some rinse-off treatments. We did this, and by this somehow we forced consumers to use more leave-on treatments. That means they do not no longer use hot water to rinse them off. And by this, our consumers saved, in the last year, 2016, 29 million cubic meter of water. And because the water is warm, is heated, another 0.4 million tons of carbon dioxide, which is a significant amount. Second focal area is recycling, using recycled package material, especially plastics, but that all the companies are doing. A lighthouse project for us was to use recycled aluminium. So our aerosol cans for antiperspirants and deodorants are made from aluminium, from primary aluminium. And to do this, you have to melt the ore at a very high temperature. If you use recycled aluminium, the melting point of aluminium is much lower, so you save a lot of energy. We did this in a 4-year project together with one of our can suppliers, Ball Aerocan, and we found out that when using 25% of recycled aluminium in the alloy, that then also the material strength is higher. That means in addition we could reduce the wall thickness of our cans, which again is an advantage for sustainability. And now we are with the lightest can on the market. And this reduction in packaging is anyhow a strategy, and you see another example for tin plate. Tin plate cans are used for our hairstyling products, and there again we reduced the thickness of the wall by 15% and have then especially the corresponding reduction in carbon footprint. Another example from formulation, that is Igora Royal High Lifts. It's used by hairdressers. It's a bleaching product, so to lighten your hair, based on hydrogen peroxide. And the function of hydrogen peroxide is to destroy the melanin, so the brown or black pigments, and then your hair gets blonde. The side effect is that it also damages to a certain extent the keratin. Neither the consumer nor the hairdresser wants this, so we do a lot of things, a lot of research, how can we prevent the keratin from being damaged. And 2 years ago we developed this fiber bond technology, and we gave this to the hairdresser in a certain bottle, so the serum, and then he was pouring it into his mixing bowl together with the bleaching cream and the hydrogen peroxide developer as a third component, and then it was applied to the hair. So we did this, and then after that, unfortunately not directly, so we thought about it, can we do it in a smarter way? And we can. We can incorporate this technology into the bleaching cream. And then of course you don't need the third product. It's more convenient for the hairdresser, but also you save the bottle and you save the formula, the extra formula. And that again, you can see, gives sustainability benefit. So much about what we can do, and also what we can do with an effect directly on the consumer. So now looking more into the downstream and upstream into the value chain. So you have already seen that for carbon footprint, 90% has to do with the consumer. For water, it's even worse, so they contribute even more than 90%. Therefore, we said, what can we do to raise awareness among consumers? And we have 2 initiatives started. The first one is a footprint calculator. I don't know who has already tried a footprint calculator, maybe not from Henkel, but you find some from NGOs or from authorities even. Who knows about this? 1, 2, 3, 4, well, couple of people. I can only recommend to use it. It's really interesting because there you can calculate the footprint you personally have with your habits on the planet Earth. And it depends, of course, on your living style. So how do you go to work? Do you fly into your holidays, or do you use a bicycle? Has a big difference, of course. What's your clothing, and also your habits, of course, in the bathroom. And this you can also try there. And then you get also hints or tips how you can reduce your footprint on Earth. So that is one thing. The other one is the Be Smarter, Save Water activity. And there we put this on the label. And our internal objective is to save 10 million tons of carbon dioxide in the use phase by 2020. That would be 10% of the complete carbon footprint with our link to our products. Of course, I know, or we know, that not all consumers are reading the label, but this is also a strong hook when it comes to negotiations or to discussions with our retailers to do promotions. neither they nor we like promotions only for a lower price, but to have a promotion where there's also a purpose behind. And this one is, of course, a good purpose, and retailers love such sustainability promotions. And of course, then we have this multiplicator effect that consumers get aware of it. Another one on consumer awareness is recycling. So here in Germany, UK, or other mature countries, you have already established recycling systems, but they are by far not as efficient as a lot of people think, but anyhow they are existing. In other countries you don't have them at all. Therefore we have started with a company named TerraCycle some initiatives where we make consumers aware what they can do better in recycling, in collecting especially, and then those materials are recycled and converted into other things. And you see two examples. One is again on antiperspirants in the UK. So those aluminium cans, the empty ones, have been collected and converted into outdoor gyms. You see here one in London. And for us, of course, the benefit is clear. So we have a branding. And for the consumer also the education, so that they see and can even exercise what can be done with collected empty aluminium cans. And the other one is on polyethylene from shower gel bottles. They have been collected and converted into slides for kids at an SOS Kinderdorf in Austria. If you calculate this, the effect is of course minor on the world, but it's about showing the consumer what he can do and how he can contribute to sustainable consumption. So much about the consumer, but now going upstream the value chain. So our chemical suppliers or feedstock suppliers, what can we do with them? And there, together with some chemical companies, we have initiated or started an initiative together for sustainability, and that is about auditing. And here the motto is: an audit for one is an audit for all. And the ambition is really huge or big. Together with our partners, we want to improve the workplace conditions for 1 million employees in our supply chain. And to do this, you need to be efficient in your auditing so that a lot of companies can really use the results of those audits. Another example regarding the supply chain is palm oil. So you might ask yourself, why is Henkel engaged in palm oil? So we are not a food company, but especially the palm kernel oil is used in our supply chain by chemical companies to make the surfactants which we are using for our shampoos, body washes, and so on. So therefore, already a decade ago, Henkel joined the Roundtable for Sustainable Palm Oil. And the ambition is, or the target of this is to have in the value chain, in the supply chain, 100% sustainable palm oil by the year 2020. So only 3 years ahead. And the second one is, of course, if you want to achieve this, you also have to make sure that you have full transparency, full traceability to known sources, because only then you can decide or check whether this plantation is sustainable or not. And then we have started an own initiative from Henkel to found or to help farmers to found their own palm oil plantations in areas where there is no rainforest. Here our objective is to produce by those initiatives the same amount of palm oil or palm kernel oil which we are using in our factories. And the good thing with that is that there we also can directly influence the workplace conditions for those farmers, so-called small farmers or smallholders. Yeah, that's what we are doing, how we have implemented our strategy, and what is now the perspective into the future. So there we have 3 goals: strengthen our foundation, boost the engagement of our own employees, and maximize the impact. Strengthen our foundation means that we simply continue. So with what we are doing. So you have seen the targets for 2020, efficiency gain of 75%. And in the year 2016, we have already achieved plus 42%. So we are well on track to this next objective. And not only we are happy about this and appreciating this result, but that is of course also published in our annual sustainability report and also very appreciated especially by analysts and investors, because they know that a more sustainable company is also financially more sustainable. Yeah, boost engagement. That is about all our employees, the 51,000. So we want to make them sustainability ambassadors by the end of this year. that we will also achieve, but what should they do as a sustainability ambassador? What are their tasks? First of all, they should go to schools. A lot of them have own children, so then it's quite easy to go to school. I did it a couple of months ago myself, and it's really interesting when you have a class of, I don't know, 30, 40 pupils in front of you and discuss with them about sustainability. So those pupils have been 8 years old, and they know already a lot about sustainability. So you are amazed what they know from TV and so on. But the discussion also showed that they can learn, especially in for their own households, what they can do better, can even improve in the kitchen, in the living room, in the bathroom. And they are, again, excellent multiplicators. So I'm sure after this day, they go at home and tell their parents, their brothers and sisters what they have learned and how they also can engage themselves to live in a little bit more sustainable way. The second, we do our neighborhood projects in communities. We also educate our employees at our sites, not only about the safety of workplaces, but also what they can do to improve. For example, simple example, not using the elevator, but using the stairs. That is good for the energy consumption, but it's also good for their personal health. With customers, so our retailers, they like our sustainability competences very much. They also profit from this. They even send, in some cases, their apprentices for training to us. And again, then we have the multiplicator effect that they, at the point of sale, can then also educate consumers what they can do better. Yeah, and with all of this, we will become a climate positive company along our value chain. We are creating shared value and encouraging social progress. And of course, we will further foster sustainability with our Sustainovations, contributing to our brands and technologies. Thanks for your attention.